Kind enough to be joined with one of the, arguably, you can call him one of the best left tackles ever, the Hall of Famer Anthony Munoz, calling us courtesy of the Built for Tough offensive line in the week. And, of course, weekly winners were chosen from all 32 NFL teams for 17 weeks. We'll talk a little more about that. They'll be honored with the NFL honors on Saturday, February 3rd. But the Hall of Famer kind enough to join me on a Wednesday. Anthony, how you been?
Doing great, Rich. How about yourself?
We are doing very well, and it's great to catch up with you. And listen, I'll tell you, it's fitting that you're representing this because you talk about linemen, and you're one of the nastiest and one of the best to ever played a game. And I look at this game right away, New England and Philadelphia. And listen, I know it's cliche to say, but I think this game will be won or lost in the trenches.
I believe what you're saying. There's no question about it. Both offensive lines doing a tremendous job. And they do. They have little nasty streaks in them, and they love getting after people. So I think that is those are matchups you need to watch. Both offensive lines against opposing defensive lines. I think you're right there.
You know, it's funny because the offensive line, you look at some of the players that are in the Hall of Fame, and it's almost like a lost art. But if you got a left tackle, that's a franchise player. I mean, we saw it with the Eagles. We saw it with you with Cincinnati. We've seen it with other linemen and guards in the past, the John Hannas, the Kramers. You know, I read somewhere you were considered, and I kind of chuckle now, and you correct me, a risky pick coming out of college because of some injuries.
Yeah.
But you only missed 3 games during your first 12 years in the league.
Very risky. In fact, I only played 1 game my senior year. I had 3 knee operations in 4 years at USC. My freshman year, I had one about halfway through the season. Played my entire sophomore year healthy. My junior year, I had my second knee injury about halfway through the season, and then I missed the entire senior year. I got it hurt I had 2 on the right, and then my left leg I hurt in the second series of first game my senior year.
Wow.
So I rehabilitated, and I came back. I was ready to move forward, move on. I could have redshirted, but I decided to play in the Rose Bowl. So we played in the 1980 Rose Bowl, which I played the entire game. So that was the only game I played, not knowing what would happen that coming April at the draft. I was just hoping to get a chance to go to an NFL camp via either draft, late round pick, or even a free agent. And the Bengals decided to take a risk and drafted me with the 3rd pick overall. And which I'm sure there was a lot of Bengals fans in Cincinnati scratching their head when they did that. But it worked out, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. Yeah,
and you went to 2 Super Bowls, 81 and 88. I'll ask you about those in a couple of moments. But, as a player that played in 2 Super Bowls, the week leading up to the game and, the travel and the request for tickets, and I'm sure it's like a different from when you played, but just mentally getting yourself prepared. I mean, is that a challenge that you got to deal with everything and then the media and then, boom, right away Sunday comes and you got to mentally be ready for this game?
Well, it is. I mean, that week, you have to get all that out of the way. I mean, family's going to travel to the game. Relatives want to come to the game. Ticket requests, and the media, kind of comes to your facility. So you're trying to prepare, but you prioritize. I mean, the coaches. That's the coach's job to really, with the strategy and the allotment of time to do things. But you know that it's the biggest game in your career, and you want to make sure you're prepared. So I don't think there's any problem with these coaches making sure that their guys are ready and taking care of things they need to. By the time they shouldn't have any of those things I just talked about hanging over when they come into the city that they're playing in. Once you get to the city, then it's kind of because you've already installed the game plan, you've already prepared, but you're still kind of trying to hone in and take care of the details. So. That's where, the coaches and stuff really, they got to play a big part in that.
Hall of Famer Anthony Munoz joining me for a couple moments on a Wednesday. Let me throw out a couple names to you. Klecko, Gastineau, Bruce Smith, Howie Long, even Reggie White. Who was some of the nastiest defensive guys you had to ever go up against?
Well, all those guys I had a chance to play against other than Reggie White. Reggie White and Gastineau, or those two on the other side. But they're all, right there at the top to play the game. I played against Klecko, to me, one of the best. Bruce Smith, probably the best. Reggie White, one of the best I ever watched. So yeah, those are names that they made offensive coordinators think a lot about when they're putting offensive game plans together. Yeah,
well, I probably had Bruce Coslett working a little overtime. You look at that 88 team with you guys in that offense, and you had that hurry-up offense. I mean, you guys were pioneering the use of the hurry-up offense. I mean, you guys led the NFL in scoring, rushing yards, total yards. And listen, I would be remiss. You got to go back to 88 because it was a great Super Bowl. It's one of the I think the earlier Super Bowls I remember actually recording back then on VHS. And that game was a goofy game because even in the first quarter, you had the 2 injuries. San Francisco has a player go down. You guys obviously have to deal with Timmy Krumrie going down. I think it was Steve Wallace was taken off the field. The 49ers left tackle.
Exactly.
Yeah, relatively close game. And then obviously, the last drive with Montana. What's it like when it's kind of a helpless feeling, is it not?
It is. I mean, you're sitting on the sideline, you realize the game's out of your hand as an offensive player. I mean, especially having to go 92 yards with about 3 minutes left. Our defense had done a pretty good job of letting them gain a lot of yards, but not giving up many points. But, with that drive, the big play was Jerry Rice, who had a monster game. I think they were 3rd and 16, and
yep.
Rice catches it and he breaks the tackle, and I think they get 18. Everybody talks about the Taylor touchdown pass, but that wouldn't happen if Rice hadn't broken that tackle and gotten the first down. And then I think Rice had over 200 yards, and then John Taylor catches a touchdown pass. It's his only catch the entire game, but it wins the football game. So, it's one of those things that it is what it is. We'd love to have that win, but, man, give them credit.
When you look at a guy like Tom Brady still doing it at the age of 40, 41 and such a high level, we always have I call it the bar talk, Montana, Brady, back and forth, the all-time great. I mean, do you respect a guy like Brady more when you see what he's been able to do at such a high level, even at this age? He's like a fine wine. I mean, he just hasn't come down. I mean, he gets better every year.
Crazy respect. I mean, the fact that he's playing, as well as he is, I mean, better than most guys, probably having some of his best years. Yeah, you respect the guy because, we've been there getting 30 and 35 and playing and know how much tougher it gets. And all of a sudden, you've got a guy that's, 40. Yeah, I mean, the respect for what he's doing and still winning Super Bowls, it's at a high level. It's amazing to see what they continue to do.
Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, you talk about dynasties, and it's all about consistency and stability. 2 more before I let you get out of here. Real quick, and let's get, before I let you get out of here, you're representing, you got the Bill Ford Tough Offensive Line of the Week. They've been recognizing the NFL's toughest offensive lines in the trenches every game during the season. The offensive line of the year is going to be recognized at the NFL Honors Saturday, February 3rd on NBC, which will air at 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Central. So talk a little bit about what you're doing with those guys.
Well, it's fun for me to be part of this team, and this is the second year that I've been able to be on the Ford team, promoting the Built Ford Tough Offensive Line of the Week. And, of course, this week it'll be the Built Ford Tough Offensive Line of the Year. As you mentioned, it will be announced at the NFL Honors on Saturday night, February 3rd, NBC. It's one of those things that we look at some of the toughest offensive lines in the trenches. And, of course, you got to think about the 2018 Ford F-150, the official truck of the Super Bowl 52. And so it's been fun to be able to watch and talk about some of the really good offensive lines as they've performed over the season. Of course, your Philadelphia Eagles won the award 3 times during the year. And, to lose one of the top tackles in the league and put Vaitai in there for Jason Peters and to not miss a beat, it speaks volumes, and it speaks volumes of guys getting ready to play, and then when they're called upon to do it, and that's what Vaitai's done. And with Lane Johnson and Wisniewski and Kelsey and Brooks, I mean, they've done a phenomenal job. So give them a lot of credit. We'll find out who the overall winner is this Saturday night, and then we'll move forward. But it's been a great program. Hopefully it continues, and it's been a thrill and an honor for me to be part of this to talk about the Built Ford Tough Offensive Line of the Week throughout the season.
No, I love it because every game, like you alluded to, it's won or lost in the trenches, and I think that lines they're going to have to show up. And conversely, too, New England, their offensive line, you got to watch that pass rush for the Eagles. It's vaunted, and
exactly.
I think it's this Eagles team with Nick Foles. I think they're playing with house money. I don't think they're going to tighten up. I love the aggressiveness of Doug Peterson, and I think it's a toss up right now. I don't see this game being a blowout. I see this game maybe what quarterback, what offense has the ball last.
I agree. I think it's going to be an excellent football game. 2 excellent football teams, 2 excellent coaches. I like what Peterson's doing. I rarely go to the game. I'll be at the game this Sunday, and I'm looking forward to a really good matchup and a great football game. Hopefully it is, and probably comes down to maybe a defense stopping an offense late in the game to win the football game, or an offense scoring to win the game.
All right, I'll let you out on this. I'm a big movie buff. So the other day, I'm a big Charles Bronson fan. You don't even know where I'm going with this one. I think you do. I'm a big Charles Bronson fan. So I started, and Steve McQueen and Paul Newman and all those guys in the 70s. And I see this movie Borderline. I'm thinking to myself, oh, all right. We got drugs. We got something like that. We got Border Patrol. And then I see this guy, Nick, they call him the Guatemalan. I'm like, that guy looks like Anthony Munoz. First of all, we verified it. Second of all, did you have a better acting career than Howie Long?
It was short-lived. I did that short part in Borderline when I was still in college. A good friend the producer was a good friend of my line coach, and so he recommended me, and then I think a couple other things. But no, that wasn't for me. It wasn't something I was going to continue to pursue, but it was fun when I did it.
Wow, you like that? I pulled it out of the hat, though. I mean, I said to myself, I got to do some prep work. How many?
Most people mention Right Stuff, but
that's true.
Mention Borderline.
You were Gonzalez in the Right Stuff.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Anthony. I appreciate it, pal. You got it. Be well. Thanks for a couple
You
moments.
Take care, Rich.
You got it. All right, you got it. Anthony Munoz, the Hall of Fame left tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals.